Hello my friends and welcome back. Today's video is about a retired US Major General who wrote a piece in a certain newspaper, and that is actually the Augusta Chronicle on March 27th, 2022. This gentleman's name, the Major General's name is Perry Smith. The title of his article is Barbarossa, Pearl Harbor, and Ukraine are military failures of the autocrats. Okay, so I will just read, obviously, to see what kind of credentials he's got here. And he says Perry Smith is a retired Air Force Major General who lives in Augusta. Okay, and he says that he conducts workshops on executive leadership, and he is teaching as well military strategy. Okay, so I will start from the idea that this gentleman is going to use Adolf Hitler and Tojo and Putin as examples that autocrats, do not know what they're doing, and there's going to be failures and so on. Okay, well, let's go and check it out and see what he says about that. And he also is going to mention some good generals, which obviously they're Americans. So he says here that I emphasize the importance of strategic thinking and planning in the past 100 years, and there have been three colossal mistakes of strategy. He says these failures were made by three national leaders, Hitler, Tojo, and Putin. So that's, you see, he linked national leaders with these three names. National from nationalist. There's just an observation, maybe I'm just paranoid, but I don't think so. But maybe he is, who knows, because he's going to use some terms in the wrong way. He says all three were autocrats. They surrounded themselves with lackeys. Their study and understanding of history and grand strategy were both limited and flawed. And he said, at the end of the article, I will identify American leaders who were excellent strategists. Okay. And it says here, and now he says, as someone who has studied and taught international relations for more than 50 years, I've been fascinated with the behavior of autocrats. Okay, excellent. He says here that his first interest was Benito Mussolini, and then Adolf Hitler, and then Tojo. Obviously, he uses Barbarossa, the invasion, June 1941 invasion of, he says, Soviet Russia. So he says here that Hitler's gravest error was the invasion of Soviet Russia in June 1941. Well, Mr. Major General, I will have to correct you because there's no such a thing. It's just Soviet Union or is Russia. Soviet Russia, and if you want to take it like that, Germany did not invade Soviet Russia because before it got to Soviet Russia, invaded Belarus, invaded Ukraine, if you want to be like, and then Moldova, anyway, but make it Anglo-Saxon sounding, a Romanian name. Anyway, so that's what it is. So if you want to be more specific and say, no, I meant Russia from the Soviet Union, well, then you had to mention the other ones because the German tanks rolled over those countries first. And in the north, if you want to take the Baltic states that obviously belonged to the Soviet Union at that time. So incorrect. So if you're so sloppy in using terms, how can I even assess you as being a major general of quality? It's like tomorrow you're going to say, well, I met Lavrov and he met Putin. That's a different guy. So use the right terms. They are very important, and words have meanings. And if you don't use the words correctly, then you're going to have a wrong outcome, obviously. So anyway, let's go with this Major General who says here that this past week, I spoke to 100 members of the Rotary Club of Augusta. I'm assuming Augusta, Georgia. I have been invited over there, and he spoke, blah, blah, blah. And he says that in answer to a question, I predicted that Ukraine would win the war and Putin would be removed from power. Okay, with enormous support from the West, Ukraine would rebuild rather quickly, with enormous support in war effort as well. But nevertheless, go further for this guy, and he says here, so who are the best American grand strategists? George Marshall, Colin Powell, and I don't know this guy, I apologize, Brent Scowcroft. So it says here that he cautions China, saying that NATO is very united right now and they will punch China in the nose, which is very possible, but I don't think that's going to happen though. All right, so that's what he said. Now, let me mention some mistakes of the democratic and free world and free countries, so I can balance his poor article and assessment. So his assessment basically tries to tell you that these three leaders, Putin, Hitler, and Tojo, they made mistakes, obviously, but he points out only to those guys because he wants to make a connection between Putin, who is democratically elected, but he's an autocrat, with like he's not having military generals and so on, because the conception, the idea is that Putin makes all the military decisions. I'm guessing like they thought that Adolf Hitler was making all the military decisions. He makes really, he makes connections that are not there. He uses a general, I think he was general, I don't know his exact rank, of Tojo, the Japanese military leader. He was not the emperor. He was, I think he was a military. He was in charge of the military. And then you mix it with Adolf Hitler, who was he wasn't the military, but he was a strategist. So he was, you can say, yeah, he was in the military, but he wasn't. And then take Putin, who was in the military, he was in the intelligence community, KGB and so on, and then he became the president. So Tojo is not the same as Putin, and Hitler is not the same as Putin, and Hitler is not the same as Tojo. So three people with three different histories, but they're autocrats. Okay, but one is a professional, like you, a major general. There was an army officer, like you. So anyway, how he surrounded himself, I don't know. But anyway, I'm talking about Tojo. And Hitler, he was a military man at one point, right? And okay, so let's go with, he makes the point that this, if you have autocracy, then obviously the chances are that the countries are bad, the outcome of invasions are bad. And he gives his examples. Yes, there were two of them. The third one is still rolling right now, so we can say about Putin is not the end of it. So the other two, yeah, that's true, they lost, and then we look at the consequences. Because let's say I go to the doctor and I go with a little, I have a splinter here. And if a doctor comes and cuts my arm from here, from my forearm off, cuts it, well, yeah, and then the surgery is a success, it's true, but I will not have a hand, an arm, right? My forearm is going to be gone for the splinter. So if you look at Japan and the interventions, yeah, was it better after that? I let that for a different, for a next, in the future, another video. The same with the Soviet Union. Yeah, the Germans did not succeed there, but then the Soviets came and they took half of Europe because the free world let them, right? So see, if the initial help for something that occurred negative, the conclusion, the consequence is worse than the other one, yeah, it could have been a success. The splinter was removed by removing my arm. So anyway, let's go back here and mention some great successes of the democratic free world. All right, and I will start with France, and I will use France as Algeria. There was a great success over there. And then we go to, obviously, to our main guy here, with United States. And I will go and see how strategically perfect were the invasions of, I'm not going to mention China because they invaded China at one point too, United States in the Second World War, but and didn't do anything. They became communist. So I'm going to go with Korea, which was not a success. We go to obviously Vietnam, not a success. Then we come a little bit closer to our time, and that would be even Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia is, I think, is the example with a splinter and a hand, because right now what's over there in that area is ready to start again. So they fixed it as the guys fixed the Europe after the First World War. That then we had the second one with the same kind of fixing, just okay. But it was militarily, it was a success. They bombed out of Yugoslavia and so on, illegally, by the way. But who cares, right? They bypassed the UN Security Council, but that's a detail, right? And then we have obviously starting with more, closer to our times instances. Iraq was a success. I don't think so. You won what? Look what's over there. So freedom and democracy? No. Hey, you bombed out of that country. That was a success militarily. Like I bomb you out of you, and then I just come over and I say, oh, military, I was strong. There was nothing military about it. Like the Russians right now, if they want, they can bomb that out of Ukraine right now. They have the capability, but they're not using that kind of military strategy, if you know what I mean. Okay, then we go to Libya. Oh my God, it was a great strategy from NATO, United States, obviously. Great strategy, great strategy. Then we go to Somalia. Yeah, there was a great strategy over there too. And then we go to Afghanistan. Look what's happening right now. They retreated with their tail between their legs, like dogs. And that was a success, right? Yeah. The war was not over. The same with Iraq. You're kicked out of Iraq. You're kicked out of Libya. All these victories, the war did not stop when you just killed the guy and say, yeah, we won. Amen. So if you analyze a victory like that, yeah, it was victory. It's a victory. Like right now, let's say Putin sends some rockets and take care of Zelensky and bombed out of the country, and they say we won. And then after that, Ukraine just goes into anarchy and crime and whatever is in Iraq or Libya right now or Afghanistan. Is that a success? Would be a success by this guy's analysis. Yes, it's a success, but I don't think it's a success. So Mr. Smith here, I don't think that I don't think your point is valid. It in itself, it is valid that some people made some mistakes. But if you take the other side, they made the same mistakes. If I want to take it comparable with these guys, I can make the same point. So then, I can say outside that, a day is formed only from the daylight. No, it has a nighttime as well. So it's dark too. So then you can't make that claim because that's not only a characteristic of the national autocrats. It's a characteristic of the professionals like you who call Soviet Union Soviet Russia. But we all make mistakes. I'm not going to count it too much. But I'm surprised that he wrote this. So he also, he had time to edit it. And he obviously did not, and some editors, I'm assuming, before that was published, and he still did not take that out. I don't know what he's talking about when he says that. It's very misleading. But nevertheless, he's a major general, and he's very well known and very important. But he's talking, and he knows what he's talking about. That's his expertise. This is not my expertise. I'm just pointing out to some historical facts and analyze his statements. So nevertheless, thank you for being with me today again. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just. See ya. Ciao.